Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more, yet again, for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Rabbids Go Home from the Nintendo Wii/Nintendo DS. So last time, we actually did the first half of the forms of Area 3, and even though, despite the fact that we actually got ourselves our... well, let's just say the first death on new forms of this particular level right there, in new forms of that, totally tap in. But today for this episode is the fact that we're going to be, hopefully we might as well able to actually finish up everything in new forms within Area 3 before we move on to the forms of Area 4. See, Fernando, that way it should able to work out. And, this is where the game starts to get pretty tricky and pretty long at the same time throughout the forms of the levels. So... anyways, though, so let's get started right here by the forms of Apocalypse Cow. See, Fernando, but much like the ones in the forms within Area 2, we need to basically, once again, we need to obtain the actual cow before we reach the very end. So, yeah, you get the idea with the little solution there, but except this time around though, unlike the ones in new forms of the one level in new forms of, in the ones in Area 2, how the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that at the very end of that particular level, that we do need to utilize the forms of that specific, section that we need to able to chase after the actual vehicle or the actual truck of any sorts, and that way you should able to obtain yourselves the actual cow. However though, in this level though, I'm pretty sure that we don't usually come across into one of those sections like this, so yeah, you get the idea with this solution. So anyways though, now we actually start to introduce to ourselves the bluey variations of the forms of the human suits itself, and basically that the only difference is this time around though is the fact that they're now going to be using flamethrowers, or in this case the actual, like, a weapon of any sort. See, Fernando, that, well, it might be still pretty easy at such, but even then though, he might actually move ridiculously fast these days, especially noticeable how the fact that if you think about trying to actually ram into them, it makes the actual, like, difficulty with the enemy behavior sometimes can get pretty difficult at times. But either way, there's not much to say about this here, so... anyways though, so today was actually forms of the 15th of November, in this case in 2018, but again I do apologize by the forms of the lack of uploading schedules in the original timeline, just because I was incredibly busy and stuff. And here, this is where we actually introduce into ourselves the forms of the actual Propeller Fan Jumping mechanic. It's the fact that if you manage to shake the Wii remote at the right time, then you would able to actually move forward a bit. But until when we get to the next couple of sections later, that we need to able to utilize the forms of the control stick maneuvering with the nunchuck, and then basically we need to able to actually aim the actual part of the forms of, like, sending us to the forms of, the actual propeller fans. So even then though, that can get, pretty, trickier for the most part though, especially when we get to, like, if you really want to get every single, like, stuff and everything, then chances are you might as well accidentally fall off the actual bottomless pit. So if you then know that, just like the ones in new forms of, totally tap in, and especially noticeable with the forms of, the ones with the atomic, or in this case, atomic, rapid blast level, is the fact that, there's going to be a lot of bottomless pits all over the place. Well, it's not so bad around here, though, but when we get to the forms of the actual, the fan propeller, section, this is where the actual difficulty will start to able to come and kick in. See, Fernando, let's go ahead and just, grab some more stuff from that perspective there, and let's not forget for these parts here, and of course deliver those stuff onto the forms of the tuba, rabbit here, and we should able to move along. And this is what the actual platforming itself comes to play, that you do need to use the nunchuck in order to actually just to aim the actual cursor, but if you're able to actually aim it at the wrong area, chances are you might as well able to actually just to lose all of your stuff. Well, you have to go all the way back to that specific spot again. So speaking of such, is the fact that if you accidentally fall down to the actual level, even if you manage to able to get your death on that specific level, chances are you might actually lose all of your stuff. In addition to that though, the checkpoints do usually happen quite often. There's one thing I forgot to mention. Oh yeah, now these guys can now able to actually use the fire hydrants of any sort to able to actually deal out with the long range, you know, the flamethrower of any sort. So, anyways though, so yeah, now let's move on here. So, again, there's not much else to really talk about for this point, folks, other than the fact that tomorrow, that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee editions are about to be releasing on the Nintendo Switch tomorrow. So, and, you know, I've already mentioned about this before, I'm probably not going to get that game anymore, just because, well, it's just that, not only because I'm not a huge Pokemon fanatic of any sorts, but it's just how the way the fact of the matter is, though, is that there are so much to do. Even way more than in forms of any kind of Pokemon game these days. But anyways, might as well go over here, I believe, and maybe just go to the other side, or not so much on that side, but let's try this side. That didn't work. I'm guessing my momentum just managed to kill it, so probably not recommend doing that. I think it's totally my fault. And yeah, that's what happens when the checkpoints usually happens quite frequently. So even then though, that usually just managed to able to, you know, take me from there, and as a result, that you can no longer backtrack of any sort. So even then though, we have to do it with a leniency. So yeah, that's definitely my fault there, because especially noticeable how the fact that I was expecting if I was trying to able to grab, you know, for that stuff over there, but unfortunately I didn't give myself my chance with it. So unless there's actually an alternative way you can able to do this, by simply we can able to just backtrack for a little bit, and then as a result we can able to actually get those collectibles from here. So if I was to suggest how the fact that, yeah, that's all I could really think about. So yeah, that goes that. So oh well, at least I'm still hoping I can able to get my best ranking of any sort. But it really do matters, because even then though, that again, I might as well try my best if I manage to able to go for 100% completion. But again, this is one of those games now, the fact that if I was expecting to able to actually complete it, completely done with everything, but chances are that it might be 100% not so predictable about it. So I digress. Alright, so that's it for that, and let's go ahead and move along as soon as that little jingle is about to be playing, even though it did stop immediately as soon as that, you know, deflatable obstacle, or that object over there, just managed to inflate itself. So, yeah, you get the idea with that specific solutions here. Now, I guess there's another thing I just want to talk about this, is the fact that, well, I've seen new forms of the new trailer in new forms of a Dumbo live-action remake movie, which is about to be up and doing at some point in 2019, and I'm actually pretty looking skeptical at first glance, because it looks remarkably different by the forms of the 2D animation counterparts, mainly in the, you know, the 1941 version of the film, and especially noticeable with the forms of, like, well, just basically just the 1941 film of Dumbo, but either way. The reason being for that is because, well, it just feels kind of realistic at first, just like in the forms of how it does it once in, you know, The Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast, which those remakes are pretty fine for the most part, though, for me, in my opinion, though. Well, the only film I was really into is the forms of The Jungle Book remake. And as a result of that tradition, that, well, Beauty and the Beast remake is actually very good. And, well, I don't usually normally watch Christopher Robin for the actual, like, the live-action movie all about A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh famous characters for it, but I digress. But I've already mentioned about the forms about the fact that the 100-acre word world will be returning in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's going to be once again a minigame compilation of any sort. So, well, the only noticeable differences this time around though is the upgraded visuals, and especially noticeable with Lumpy actually managed to join in this time, which I've already explained about this during the likes of the past few videos ago, so no need to explain about that again. So, alright, so before we do anything about it, I need to double check to see if... What?! What?! Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I don't know why the hell just happened right there, but, for some reason that I seem to clip through the wall. Oh jeez, this is the beginning of the forms of the prequel to Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Oh Jesus Christ, where do I begin? And not to mention that all of my stuff has been entirely lost, so that's not even that good. Even though I refused to able to restart the actual level, but I just cannot believe I got screwed myself from that glitch, even by clipping through the actual wall. I don't know what caused it to be happening, even then though I was able to actually just, I know I'm sorry, a little bit depressed for this point, folks and ladies and gentlemen, just because we have seriously managed to encounter so many glitches throughout the entirety of the Let's Plays themselves, mainly by the forms of, like, well, we haven't come across into one in Sonic and the Secret Rings anymore, just because, you know, Mickey Mouse has recently done the redo Let's Play of that game, so, even I know, despite the views is actually going pretty low, but the quality itself is actually pretty much better for the most part, so either way though, no likeliness is involved around here, so yeah, you get the idea. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just go from here, and just grab a whole bunch of items from here, and that will be good to go from here. Oh jeez, where do I even start? Even by the forms of how the fact that, well, it's not something terrible happening, it's just how the fact that, well, it just reminds me of that terrible Wii U game of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, where if you clip through something like nothing else, it's just, oh, I just hate that game so much. Still, I always keep on about it at all times though, I got to tell you guys right about now. So anyways though, as soon as you're about to obtain a cow, then the level is instantly finished, so expecting there might be something more than that, other than the fact that there's actually a car chase of any sort. Well, turns out it wasn't, so alright, let's see, we got 850, which we're off by 150, but might as well able to actually forgive the perfect ranking, so oh well. That's a bit terrible at the very end, at least, after all that, you know, disastrous has been happening, but in forms of that significant glitch by clipping through the actual wall, but I digress. So if you manage able to get 3 presents that you get yourselves a different ranking means not bad. Which, I will admit though, is pretty alright, but either way though, I'm more used to with the forms of the highest ranking you can get. But anyways though, let's move on to the next level by the forms of Furryous Fun. Meaning that once again we need to utilize the forms of the aeroplane blaster thingy, which, or in this case the aeroplane jet. So, even then though, there's not much else I can really say about it. So, it might be exactly the same one as how it does it from the other one, or in this case another one of those levels, except that to start things off we need to able to explore the actual hallway into the forms of, like, you know, the actual airport. So, and I believe once again we need to able to collect those, you know, red pipe parts. Even then though, that just like before, then you would able to get suggestions. If you grab all 5 pipes, then you would able to move along. So, you know, nothing too remarkably different about it aside from that. So anyways, it's been a while since we actually see this particular, I can't remember what that actual robot's name on one though, but even then though, it might be like, Dust Bots or something like that. I'm not exactly sure because again, feel a little bit rusty about the forms of, just trying to able to get back into recording sessions for the most part though, so either way though, but again, that it's been a long time after the disappearance of the forms of, after the forms of the moving house process, but either way though, let's just go ahead and move along, so. Anyways though, few things I want to explain about this also, is the fact that, well recently, how the fact of the matter is though, is that, King 74, sorry, that he now makes his return after about also a few weeks ago, but except this time around though, that he did manage to able to done the, I would say the second portion of the forms of the DLC packs and stuff like that, but the forms of the Balance of the Champions DLC pack for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then all he needs left is just basically just one last, well, spirit or something, even though I haven't really touched upon Breath of the Wild just yet though, but you know. Alright, so we all settled in with the forms of every single pipe parts, but before we leave, we need to double check if there aren't any missing parts that we might as well double check. Well, apart from the fact that, yeah, I guess there's not much else that we can check for this point. Alright, so just like before, we need to able to get the actual gauge all the way up to the green, so that's what we have to do here.
Flight 714 from Sydney will be arriving at Gate 12. Eat this, punks!
And so much so, just like before, that we need to able to dodge every single of those inflatable dynamites of any sorts, and then as a result, that if you manage to avoid those just fine, then you would able to be perfectly safe. So, but yeah, as far as I can say. So even then though, this level feels remarkably similar to the forms of the previous level like this, except the noticeable difference is that the beginning portion is a little bit different. And also, while the layout itself is pretty much almost identical, but at least it does have a different name for the level itself. And as a result of that addition, how the fact that we could able to actually discover what's a little bit more different this time around though compared to the previous levels set up like this. Even by the forms of whenever we get to the actual you know, the actual, this section in particular, that way we could able to know what I'm talking about for this point. So, naturally speaking, that we still once again managed to come across into the encounters like so. But, before I do that, I just need to able to grab these little, light blue containers of any sorts before you're able to grab the majority of the any kinds of stuff for this matter. And, as far as I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those levels how the fact that they don't normally see the actual cutscene introductions to the forms of the actual items themselves for a little bit of a while, but I digress. Oh god, we have a time bomb, and this time around though, now it's up to 3 minutes, so at least we got a plethora of time before we're able to actually make our way to the very end of the level, but the only noticeable difference is I just realized is the fact that, well, you just probably have to able to be stay sharp for the most part, and also as a result for that, sense of coincidence is the fact that, yeah, I already know that, Rabbid over there, but, hey, at least I can able to actually use the speed boost or the actual special speed boost by quite wisely, well, not all the time, mind you, because I'll save some whenever when I start to slow down every second of it, so, but, hey, at least that usually just happens for the most part, though, so, anyway, let's go ahead and just turn around, and hopefully we could able to grab even more stuff from that side, and, well, dash through the actual ramp, and we'll just have to completely ignore these items for now, because, well, we're in a hurry, so even though, unless if you really try to 100% for everything in this stage, basically, it's entirely up to you if you want to able to decide to do that, so, and of course, we don't have any speed boosts for this point anymore, so we have to simply just do this last part without even using the speed boosting any second of it, so yeah, this makes it a little bit more tricky for the most part, other than the fact that, well, it's actually pretty easy though, and pretty fun still. But anyways, let's go ahead and grab the rest of the items from around the actual roundabout of any sorts, because I say roundabout just because, well, we got to keep on circling around and around and around, just so much so. But anyways, and now we can able to get into the final tunnel before the actual bomb itself explodes. So I can assure that how the fact that I don't think there's any checkpoints around here, unless if the time bomb runs out, then you have to restart the whole entire section again. So we have essentially done with the actual main level. So, but I was expecting, I'm hoping I can able to get the highest rank, unlike the forms of the previous level, by the forms of Apocalypse Cow. Get it? Because you know how the fact that that stage, or in this case, that previous stage was actually in Apocalypse after all. But that's just how I think it is. So yeah, we are done with this point here. So 958, only off by about like 42 items, but that's okay, because either way, now we got even more stuff in mind. So anyways though, let's head back to the forms of the actual stage selection screen. And in addition to that though, that since we've now reached at the forms of the final let's just say the last level of Area 3. So this means we can able to actually move along to Holy Pile of Junk. So this means is the fact that this is actually part 2 of the Forms of the Pile stages. But either way though, that technically the Forms at the very beginning of the game was actually the prologue of the game, as to be expected as such. And yeah, we can able to get a drill from here. And talk about that little traditions and stuff. Yeah, everything else is going to be completely different throughout, especially noticeable how the fact that we actually gather a lot of the stuff ever since then, and that way we could able to potentially try to able to actually just place that little plane jet, and then that way we could able to actually just hopefully, God forbid, trying to able to make it all the way up to the moon, obviously. But my guessing so is the fact that they're not going to reach it so easily for this point. I wonder if that jet is still fusing, which even then, I just could short you about the fact that if the actual plane jet parts will stop fusing. So, but anyways though, if you think the level is over, well, we actually got ourselves another section that we can deal with, and since that now, that as you can see, there's going to be covered in water. So this meaning that way we can now finally able to actually drift along, or in this case right onto the forms of the water on the trolley itself. So even then though, this will become very handy though, especially when we get to the later water levels of any sort. Because I say water levels is because, well, as soon as we get to Area 4, that I'll spoil you guys right about now, it's going to be water-themed worlds. So even then though, that could be expecting so. And as far as I'm aware, is the fact that this particular level feels a bit too similar to the forms of the previous, you know, junk level, is the fact that although the noticeable differences I just realized is the fact that, well, obviously to make things a little bit more differently, is the fact that, as you can tell, you know, it's all covered in water. So you can end up that in order to actually finish the main level, well, just simply just master your skills with the forms of that specifically for the actual, like, jet water or of any sorts like that. And then that way you could able to actually walk on water without even drowning at least once. So, if I remember correctly, is that if you didn't come across into that at the very early portion of the game, you automatically die from drowning. I'm not entirely sure about that, but either way though, that's just what I was going to be thinking of anyway. Anyway, so let's grab these more stuff here, and in fact the matter is though, is the fact that the amount of stuff you can get in this level, it might be a little bit similar to the ones in the, you know, the previous level as far as I'm concerned, even though the noticeable difference is the forms of, you know, the actual level layout is completely different, because, you know, there's going to be water. So even then though, let's go ahead and just, I think this might be the last section of the level, so in case if we're about to be able to grab the majority of the stuff, and then that way we can able to actually hopefully try to conclude Area 3, and then once we conclude Area 3, then we pretty much reached onto the forms of the halfway portion of the game so far as the actual progressions, as far as I'm concerned. And from what I can tell is the fact that we actually did manage to breezily, you know, run through this game so fast and quick, even though despite the fact that we do have some do or die situations, which still it mainly happens in most common Let's Players these days, and especially noticeable if they manage to spend on the actual levels themselves a little bit too long if they manage to able to try to grab the rest of the actual items in here and there. But I digress. I believe one of these little, floaty, you know, ball, you know, floaty balls of any sorts, they're just there for the sake of, like, being, like, the forms of, like, getting momentum for you, or manage to able to get past, so, unless if you manage to able to decide to drive on one of them throughout. So anyways, let's go ahead and get ourselves a nice little boost here, to get even more stuff here, and in addition to those little squids, to able to actually get ourselves even more, piled of stuff. And then that way we could able to actually just guarantee to able to grab the rest. Oh, there's the forms of that specific little critter. And the final four stuff is going to be all the way up there. Thankfully though, I feel like this level is actually way easier than the forms of the other one that it did. Even though that might not be true, but I think the reason being for that is because I just completely ignored the forms of the actual corner section, so that'll be entirely my fault. So anyways, let's place the rest of the stuff here, and we are done with everything in Area 3. So now, welcome to the forms of Area 4. So now we are in the halfway point of the game. So yeah, things can get pretty interesting to say the least, especially noticeable with the future levels in mind. So anyways, we are essentially done with Area 3. And now we're going to be getting to the car boot. So yeah, anyway, we got the endings off at this point right there, I'm afraid, guys. So join me next time on Let's Play Rabbids Go Home. Instead, we're about to get started with Area 4. So see you guys then. Later, fellas.